Hey y'all, I'm Jen, and this is Sassy Southern NC Girl, and this is hashtag Swap and Glue. It's an open collaboration hosted by Creating with Jovi. And my second swap partner for June was Angela Jones with Angela Jones Creates. And I am posting this a little bit late because I was on vacation. And I actually had to record this without audio, so I am now doing voiceover so that you guys can see what she sent me. So we're going to go through what she sent, and then I am going to just show you the finished product because I didn't have a way to record, and so I did not record the process. She sent me some really cool stuff. This is an awesome magazine piece here, and I think I ended up using a couple of elements out of here. She sent me quite a few older things. That's her note there. Thank you for doing a swap and glue with me, Angela Jones. And then it just, shows her information on there. And I will link her down in the description below. This was by far the coolest thing that she sent me, and I ended up using this as my focal piece. It takes me a minute to unfold some of these because they're pretty big, but that is Lucille Ball in a 1953 ad for Philip Morris. So cool. I love Lucille Ball. I grew up watching her on I Love Lucy, and that was just a fantastic thing. That was from July 11th, 1953. Super, super cool. And then the next one I think is Betty White, who I also love. I adore the Golden Girls, y'all. And I thought that was super cool. I actually used some of that as well. And I think the back was Goodnight Moon stamps. That was a really cool magazine that she had. I would love to know how you get that magazine, Angie, because I would love to have that. I used to collect stamps when I was younger. My dad was a mail carrier for over 20 years. And then this one, I ended up using that little alien guy down there. Or I think he's actually a robot, but he kind of gave me alien vibes. So I ended up using that. And then we had this really cute cartoon. I ended up not using this. I decided to save it for another time, but I thought it was really cute and really cool. Like I said, she sent me some amazing stuff, and nothing like anything I have. That map there, I believe that's the one where she actually sent me a map that shows where I live in Kentucky. And I definitely ended up using that in there. I thought it was so cool. It showed Fort Campbell. It showed Clarksville, which is the town in Tennessee that I'm close to. And then it actually showed Oak Grove, which is where my oldest son used to live. And that's typically where I shop as far as like for Walmart or whatever. I prefer to go to Kentucky. And then also on there it shows Bowling Green, which is where my son's going to play soccer with his new club in the winter. So that's pretty cool. And so I ended up fixing the page, as you'll see at the end, where all three of those cities show. All four. Clarksville, Fort Campbell, and Oak Grove and Bowling Green. And where my son currently lives, my oldest, was actually on there as well, but I think I ended up having to cover that. And then that was pretty cool. That was from Ringling Brothers Circus, and I ended up using a couple of pieces off of that. Excuse me, as well. Sorry, y'all. I'm making dinner while I'm doing this voiceover, so that's what you hear in the background. But I thought the Ringling Brothers was really cool. And then that was a book page that I thought was super cute, but I also ended up not using that either. And then that was another kind of cartoon type book page that I also ended up not using. and I wanted to make sure you guys could see it. So I kind of wavered on everything for a little bit after I showed it. This is from for like Pride Month, and I did actually end up using 2 things off of that page. I ended up using that girl there, or it might be a trans person, I'm not sure. But I ended up using that, and then the disco ball. I wanted to use something off the back, but I just couldn't make it work with using that map page. So, and then this had the cutest doggies on there. I ended up using one of those dogs on the page. I wanted to use all of them, but I just couldn't make it fit. And I loved that kitty cat, but when I cut out the dog that I was going to use, it was, the kitty was on the back. And then this is from Mad Libs. I don't know if you guys remember that magazine from back in the day. I absolutely loved it. Mad Magazine. And then you could get the Mad Libs books where you could fill out the little thingies. It was so fun. And then the next one was really cool. I loved that Liberty Bell picture, but I couldn't make that work either. And this was also from a 1950s. Yeah. I can't remember what magazine it was. It says it up at the top. The Washington Post or something like that. And those pages out of the Washington Post were so cool. I really was like trying to hoard them, but I couldn't resist the Lucille Ball, so. And then this was like a page out of like some construction type thing, and I actually wanted to use some of that in there. The colors matched really well, but I couldn't make it fit. And then that was just another magazine page. And then this is like a watercolor page, which I thought was so cool. I used to love to do watercolor when I was a kid. And I actually ended up cutting out 2 things out of there. Now this map was like from a school book. And I ended up not using that page, but that was cool too. We used to live in Colorado, so I thought that was pretty nifty. Although it's actually a map of Wyoming, but... And then she sent me 2 book pages. They look kind of old and vintage, but I ended up not using those either in this particular layout. And then that was a really cool page. I ended up using that portrait there. It was very, very cool. And so here I am showing the finished product. I absolutely love it. There's the Ringling Brothers. I used the date from the Lucille Ball advertisement. There's Betty White down there. The picture, that artist picture there. Down there is some of the little cutouts from that very first page. The flower and the butterfly were from the watercolor. Then the dog was the one that I picked. And then I wrote in on the side who did the thing. And down at the bottom, you can see where I live. And Angie actually sent me 2 packets. So Angie, I'm going to save the other one for July. I'm going to do a July swap and glue with you. I actually have one other person that's sending me a swap and glue for July. So I will send you back another pack in the next week or 2, if that's okay. And then I'll have 2 swap and glue partners for July as well. But this was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I don't even know if Jovi's still doing it for July, but I'm just going to continue and keep tagging her and using her hashtag. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep it sassy. Bye, y'all.